how is Mr. Macron's economic plan different to the one we currently have with President Hollande? Isn't there a danger that this is just Hollande 2.0?
Well, he's much more transformational, as he uses to say. He wants to change quite fundamentally the way the labour market works. He wants to shake up public services. He wants to put much more emphasis on skill. He has a radical plan for pension reform. So that's not exactly continuity.
Okay. You want to change a number of the tax stories in France. France is often perceived as a difficult place to do business because of the tax structure. Do you think that the changes that are being proposed will change international perspective of France?
Oh, yes. Well, several tax plans are worth noting. One is on the tax on wealth, which will now exclude capital invested in the economy. That will be essentially a tax on real estate wealth. Second, the corporate income tax rate will go down to 25%, down from 33.3%, so that's quite a change. Third, tax on capital income will be simplified. There will be essentially a flat tax on capital income. So quite significant changes.
Is there any attempt to really distance himself from the Socialist Party and swing a little bit more towards the center-right in order to take some of those votes away from the Republican weakness here?
Well, he didn't start from the Socialist Party's platform to try to sort of tweak it and move to the right. He started from his own platform, which draws on ideas that comes from both the left and the right. So because, I mean, these days, the fundamental debate, and especially in this country, is not essentially about left and right. It's about openness and closeness and protectionism. It's about Europe. It's about change. So those are issues that are, in a way, orthogonal to the traditional right-left debate.
So will Emmanuel Macron embrace openness, even, for example, openness to trade with the post-Brexit United Kingdom?
Well, he will, he will be tough on in the negotiations. Essentially, he has a very strong European agenda. He thinks that Europe is part of the answer to a number of problems we're facing, be it economic problems with refugees, or defense and security. So he puts a lot of emphasis on putting Europe back on track and back on a sort of positive agenda. Brexit is clearly a serious setback, and the question in the negotiation will be to preserve the integrity of the EU and the single market, and that will be tough negotiations.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about another negotiation that you will have to have. If you want to create a Eurozone budget and a Eurozone finance minister, do you think that you will be able to succeed on either of those fronts? Do you think that there is any appetite at all for those things to exist in Berlin?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that Macron's plans are fiscally responsible, and he wants to comply with the 3% rule, to exit the excessive deficit procedure, and that's a sort of starting point for discussion. Now, that being said, he also wants a Eurozone that works better, that provides more stabilization, that is more able to cope with external shocks, that is more able to create prosperity for the European citizens. We cannot be happy with the outcome of the last 10 years. The performance on the whole has not been satisfactory, and so significant reforms are needed there too. And there will be a discussion with all partners, including Germany, on what is needed. And I think it's a duty of the next French president to put forward his own ideas about reform plans.
Okay. Let me just ask a final question. In your mind, is the plan that you guys are putting together actually radical enough? Does it go far enough to do what you think is necessary? And are you not worried that it's not? And if it is as radical as maybe you think that it is, kind of just to flip that around a little bit, do you not worry that Parliament will ultimately stand in your way? There does seem to be kind of a sense that it is radical. Maybe it's not radical enough, but it might be too radical for Parliament to accept.
What is important in a presidential election is that voters understand and give a mandate for something. And, you know, too often in the past in France, the president has been given a mandate for something and has done something else, which is a recipe for opposition and ultimately failure in many cases. I think Macron's identity, political identity, is really reform, it's really change. And once you get this mandate from the electorate, you have much more political strength and you have much more political capital that you can invest in significant reforms. Now, you don't change a country in a day, you don't change it entirely in 5 years, but you can do a lot in 5 years.